Listen to the music as I go. Dance so lovely, you can also hit the floor.
I was inspired by Nikita Kering to start singing because she started at a young age. I write my songs alone.
Put your hands up in the air.
So she scratched through her cupboard and spied a can of tomato sauce. Why don't I make myself a lovely little pizza?
Sunrise reminds me of our duty. Fragrance and cool climate graces the day. A new dawn is here with us. Kisumu, a great city to admire.
That if someone does not have money to bribe some of the officials in those government offices, you won't get the tender.
I have never ever benefited from that procurement bill, so I don't know who it goes to. Maybe we need a lot of more elaboration.
By training people with a special need and disability, we very quickly can see that they've got passions, they've got skills, they've got interests. They might not be able to do every single thing, but they certainly can do a lot of things wonderfully well, and sometimes even better than somebody like you or I.
So differently abled, differently.
Good afternoon. Thank you for creating time for us. You are in time for the Lunchtime News. A very warm welcome to the broadcast. My name is Irene Muchuma Odem. On sign language interpretation, we have Byron Abuli. Do interact with us on all our social media platforms at KBC Channel 1. This afternoon, we begin with the drought situation in the country. This afternoon, Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has just concluded a press briefing with the media on measures to be put in place in mitigating the situation in the country. My colleague Alan Aoko is on that bit. Alan, good afternoon.
Identify the needs and the interventions that are so required and come back to the National Secretariat.
Currently addressing members of the press. Let's cross over and listen in.
We want to thank our governors for agreeing to put money aside to partner with the national government and our development partners as a part of the mitigation strategy to help the people of Kenya who have been affected by the drought. We have agreed that all water agencies across the country have mobilized 100 water buses that will be deployed in all the areas that have been badly affected to assist in getting water to human beings and livestock so that we can address the water shortage that is prevalent in those areas. Again, the Kenya Defence Forces have agreed to provide water rigs to engage in an emergency drilling exercise to drill as many boreholes as practically possible in various parts of the country. Again, the Ministry of Water has given a proposal that we are discussing with the Treasury on how we can obtain more water tanks and also contribute in drilling more boreholes in the areas that are required. To enhance transparency and accountability, all food by the national government, by the county governments, by our development partners will be received and distributed by the county coordinating teams. And all that food will be documented from the point of being received up to the distribution. We have also agreed with the county governors for transparency and accountability. All food purchased by the county government will be surrendered to the coordinating teams so that all players are well appraised on what has been provided and in the manner in which it is distributed. Finally, we want to appeal to our development partners and the international community to consider giving us more resources so that we can top up what the national government has put in place, in addition to what the county governments will be able to put into place so that we can mitigate the crisis. Again, in terms of livestock intervention, we note with a lot of concern the destruction of livelihoods.
Our call is on that bit. Be sure to catch up with him in our subsequent bulletins for more details in regards to the drought situation in the country, to health concerns, lack of trained personnel and financial resources at the county level continues to inhibit access to quality healthcare at the grassroots as envisaged in the Constitution. Stakeholders drawn from community-based organizations now want all players in the sector to collaborate in addressing these challenges. Simon Achola has the details.
Despite encouraging efforts both at the county and national levels to provide quality healthcare, access to these services has been hampered by lack of specialized personnel at the county level. Due to inadequate resources, counties struggle to employ the best in the market.
How do we rally community engagements and CSO engagement when it's come to the implementation of primary healthcare? The future of quality health that is embedded in our Constitution, Article 43, can only be realized when primary healthcare is actualized.
Government alone cannot achieve universal health coverage. And also, if you look at the way the county governments are spending, you find that a lot of money is going to personnel emoluments, which is in paying salaries, leaving very little for development and programs. So we have to work together with development partners and also CSOs.
Speaking at the opening of a two-day primary healthcare summit in Kisumu County, stakeholders from grassroots-based organizations now want deliberate efforts in ensuring resources are put to good use and enhancing synergies among various players in the sector to minimize wastage and duplication of resources.
We in the Lake Region Economic Bloc are using economies of scale where if one county has a best practice, the other counties learn from that, and they don't necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but just customize for the problems that are there on the ground.
They also want a policy framework that will channel more resources towards healthcare across the country.
One of the areas we are really focusing on is on ensuring that the policies that are there are really implemented. But again, the policies can't be implemented if they're not budgeted for. Everything has to do with budget.
Achola Simon, Lunchtime News, Kisumu County.
An application for revision and stay of contempt of court proceedings against Kenya Broadcasting Corporation's acting editor-in-chief Millicent Awor was heard on Friday before High Court Judge Esther Maina. The advocates representing the acting editor-in-chief had sought an order of stay of the contempt proceedings that are currently before Honorable Eunice Nyutu. The High Court granted a temporary stay of order the said proceedings and directed that a ruling on the same be delivered on 11th October.
The contempt of court charges preferred against KBC's acting editor-in-chief have now moved to the High Court following a stay order issued by Lady Justice Esther Maina. A ruling on the matter will be made on Tuesday, 11th October 2022. On Thursday, proceedings at the Magistrates' Court were also adjourned to Tuesday, 11th October as defense sought to get copies of the court proceedings of the 25th March 2022 when the offense is alleged to have been committed.
there are two interested parties. One is the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation and also the Kenya Union of Journalists. As I understand it, the reason why these proceedings have been generated was because of a complaint, and I really have tremendous respect for your clerk. The defense does not allow us to express ourselves as such, that there was an application of any kind. Because, Your Honor, why I say this, and this is a jurisprudential question. The reason why I say this is that judicial proceedings, Your Honor, we've got to determine what exactly is it that these proceedings are.
The defense had requested to be availed with copies of the proceedings to enable them advise their client appropriately.
And therefore, Mr. Odoro can lay the attempt to get those proceedings the whole of yesterday and up to when has the ICT system of the judiciary communicated to him.
Your Honor, in the afternoon, apparently there was a blackout in the courts. But nonetheless, we did express our concern because some of the proceedings that we had wanted are proceedings which we requested on 29th of September. Now exactly 1 week since we made such request. Those are proceedings which, according to our analysis of the earlier record that we got, ought to have been in focus in this proceedings, Your Honor.
The person summoned before court has not been a witness, an advocate, or one of the accused persons, Your Honor. So that Your Honor will urge the court respectfully to accommodate us even further.
The Kenya Union of Journalists have since written a complaint letter to the Judicial Service Commission seeking their intervention over increased media intimidation and frustration by the judiciary.
Busia County government has assured residents that they have put in place elaborate measures to prevent spread of the deadly Ebola virus in the country. Busia County Governor Dr. Paul Otuoma and Western Regional Commissioner Isaiah Nakuru are at the same time urging residents to minimize interactions and maintain cleanliness as a preventive measure from contracting the virus.
Addressing the press in Busia County Governor Dr. Paul Otuoma, Western Regional Commissioner Isaiah Nakuru, and Budalangi Member of Parliament Raphael Wanjala said necessary measures have been put in place to protect residents.
Mikakati imewekwa, tumeongea na Mheshimiwa Governor pamoja na County Security Team na tumeridhika kwamba wameweka mikakati ya kuhakikisha kwamba wananchi wanalindwa. Hatutaki tungoje mpaka wakati shida imetokea ndio tunajitokeza. Tunataka kuwa proactive ili tuweze kuzuia.
Busia Governor Dr. Paul Otuoma said the county and national government are collaborating to ensure residents are safe from the virus.
Kutakuwa pia collaboration with our neighbors here in Uganda so that prevention vile huwa tunasema is better than cure. So hatutasema tu that tunafanya upande wa Kenya. We'll need that cross-border team so that the efforts zote zikuwe coordinated.
Budalangi Member of Parliament Raphael Wanjala, however, appealed to the national government to scale up surveillance in the Lake Victoria region.
So the border is porous. People go to the lake, people go to Uganda through the lake, but you find there are no medical practitioners there to examine them when they are coming back from Uganda.
Jacqueline Masharia for Lunchtime News.
From Busia now to the county of Kajiado, mass livestock deaths have been reported in the region as herders continue to grapple with persistent drought in the region. Most herders have reportedly been left with no animal and are now appealing to the government to come to their aid.
Dry fields covered by dozens of carcasses of livestock, effects of drought that continues to ravage parts of Kajiado County. Residents say their livelihood has been hit hard and their children's education greatly affected.
Najua ng'ombe moja nauza kama 50,000
Na unajua sasa fees ya shule unaweza kuwa term ni 50 hivi. Kwa hivyo imagine uki plus 50 times 50. Najua hiyo ni lakina.
Women and children are the most affected as men have relocated with remaining herds in search of pasture.
Wamama ndio wameathirika sana na watoto, na sisi ndio tumeachwa nyumbani tukiwa hatuna chakula. So leo wale wamama wako hapa, tunashukuru Mungu maana watapata kidogo ambayo itawasaidia kwa siku zijazo. Nashukuru sana kwa sababu ya wafadhili waliotufadhili, tunasema asanteni.
County and the national government waangalie watu wa Kajiado, kwa maana watu wanaumia, hakuna maji, na sana naona maji inatoka sehemu za Kilimanjaro na inateremka all the way to Nairobi, na inaonekana hakuna mahali watu wa Kajiado wamepewa hizo maji.
Meanwhile, their hope is pegged on the short rains in most parts of the country. In Mandera, another county facing effects of drought, residents fear being exposed to diseases as a result of the region drought.
Tunaomba wafadhili na serikali, watu wanaweza kufa haraka wanaweza karibuni. Kama hii mezi hii tarehe 15 tarehe 20 bado nyesha mvua mazuri, mambo itakuwa mbaya. Kwa hivyo wananchi watu wanaweza kufa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali na wafadhili wajaribu kusaidia watu.
At least 106 children have already been admitted to hospitals across the region, with the majority suffering from malnutrition coupled with extreme complications. Mandera County's Chief Executive Committee for Health, Dr. Mohamud Adan Mohammed, notes that the numbers are alarming.
We are also very cognizant of the fact that the moment immunity goes down as a result of malnutrition, disease outbreaks, particularly measles, is one of the things that has been sequentially happening following severe drought. We are already having a few reports from Mandera West Sub-County of children presenting with that kind of symptoms, and we have sent our surveillance teams to collect sample for us to be able to verify.
He adds that pregnant mothers who are also at risk of suffering from respiratory diseases often end up giving birth to underweight babies.
As a county department of health, we are trying to do interventions in terms of outreach, nutritional support, rehabilitation of admitted children, and support of the mothers. We are giving iron supplementation and deworming, on top of other actions that other humanitarian partners and the county government is doing.
Reporting for Lunchtime News, I'm Elvis Otieno.
The Public Service Commission has shortlisted 477 candidates for positions of principal secretaries. The candidates, who include former Member of Parliament, outgoing principal secretaries and other professionals, will be interviewed by the Commission starting Wednesday next week. Gishuki Washira has the reports.
The names of the shortlisted candidates for the positions of principal secretaries have been uploaded at the website of the Public Service Commission. 9,154 applicants expressed interest for the positions, but only 477 were shortlisted and will be interviewed by the Public Service Commission. Article 155 of the Constitution states the President shall nominate a person for appointment as Principal Secretary, and with approval of the National Assembly. The 477 candidates who will appear for interviews starting next Wednesday include former members of Parliament affiliated to the ruling Kenya Kwanza Alliance, among them former Langata MP General Nixon Koril, former Laikipia West MP Patrick Marilu, former Magarini MP Michael Kingi, former Narok South MP Korei Olelemein, former Isiolo County Woman Representative Rehema Jaldesa, former Aina Moi MP Silvanas Martim, and former Kiminini MP Chris Wamalwa. The Public Service Commission has also shortlisted at least 4 outgoing principal secretaries, including Safina Kwekwe, Saitoti Torome, Mika Powon, and Nancy Karigido.
Parents in Garissa County who failed to take their children to school face arrest and prosecution. The county administration issued the directive after documenting More than 160,000 children are out of school as their families migrate in search of water and pasture.
During the launch of an ambitious program dubbed Operation Back to School, Garissa County Commissioner Boaz Cherotich confirmed that the chief had been given firm instruction to track down and arrest those who defy the order.
We are going to mobilize through chiefs and ensure that all children who are out of school are listed. The names are brought to the committees which we are going to agree will form, and then we'll track the parents. Wale wazazi ambao wameshindwa kupeleka watoto wao shule, and then we're going to arrest them and take them to court.
The Ministry of Education, in collaboration with Finchurch Aid and UNICEF, are targeting 6,000 children between the age of 16 and 13 in the two sub-counties of Balambala and Lagdera, with hopes of getting the children back to school.
We are targeting 6,000 children who are out of school. We know that the number of out-of-school children are higher than that. There are around 166,000 children in the entire Garissa County. But for FCA, our target for primary learners is 6,000. And we are going to work with the Ministry of Education heavily and UNICEF to ensure that we bring back these children to school.
The member of County Assembly for Baraki Ward, Hassan Galei, called for measures to be put in place that will ensure the children remain in school.
It is high time the stakeholders to see how to retain these children in classes. I think the school feeding program, whoever was concerned, probably will also push from the county government, but all the other stakeholders, it's high time we factor the school feeding program.
Kenyans have been urged to make the necessary compromises in order to utilize democratic spaces available to them. Former Prime Minister Raila Odinga says younger generation needs deeper knowledge of the country's journey to democracy, especially the struggles encountered to achieve freedoms currently enjoyed by citizens. Raila spoke on Thursday evening during the launch of the book Stronger Than Faith, My Journey for Justice in Repressive Kenya, authored by Oduor Ongwen. The author says the desire to preserve Kenya's history and speaking truth to power motivated him to write the book.
That there's something stronger than faith, and that is what we are talking about today. And mine is not about to talk about history, although what I document here has happened. I'm talking about the future of this country.
I've said before, and Macau repeated it, that from independence right through there have been two forces pulling in opposite direction in our country. One, the forces of retention of the status quo versus the forces for change and development. This struggle has been consistent. Some people have forgotten this. So many of our youth today don't know what happened in this country. But these are facts which need to be known. We are not here because of generosity of some other people. It was because people suffered so that Kenyans can enjoy the freedom that they have today. And if it is not protected, we are likely to go back to where we came from. So we have a duty as a people. As a people, to consolidate the gains and to expand. The left must remain focused.
A 63-year-old man from Hayega village in Kakamega County was found dead in his house this morning with deep wounds on his body. The bloodstains in the deceased house is an evidence of the intense fight and the eventual painful death he endured in the hands of the assailants. The deceased is said to have been involved in a land dispute with his siblings.
It was for a short period of time, but a very serious one, because those cats are big, hata hange survive. Ukomvi iko kwa boma kuhusu mambo ya shamba. Hata hii mambo ya shamba iko kotini. Hata tunaenda kotini mwezi ujao.
Tunataka vitengo vya usalama vihakikisha ya kwamba Hayega Police Station iko na gari ili tupate huduma. Gari moja kwa sub county kama Kakamega Gari ambayo inatoka hapa iende Kisasari, iende paka Ireo, hii haiwezi fanya kazi. Polisi hawezi fika kwa muda ambao unatakikana.
Cancer at the Kenyatta University Teaching, Research and Referral Hospital has gone a notch higher with the procurement of a cyber knife. The 675 million shilling equipment conducts diagnosis more precisely and treats tumors without damaging tissue.
Kenyatta University Hospital has upgraded its treatment of cancer by acquiring the cyber knife, a robotic radiotherapy device for treating tumors. It allows patients to lie comfortably on the procedure table without anesthesia, while the robotic arm moves without touching them to treat all areas of the tumor. While receiving the equipment at the hospital, the management board chair, Professor Olive Mugenda, said the equipment will bring cost of treatment to as low as 350,000 shillings.
As we celebrate having the cyber knife in Kenya, we note that Kenyans seeking treatment using this machine need not travel abroad anymore, and hence shall save immensely on the costs and provide patients with ease of access to family support during their treatment. Allow me to note that KUT-RRH is keen on promoting universal health coverage to support the government agenda for health.
Kenya becomes only the second African country to have the cyber knife after Egypt. Professor Mugenda further said that the installation of the equipment is expected to take about 6 weeks, and treatment of patients will start at the end of November, when President Honorable William Ruto will officially commission the facility. At least 3 doctors and other key medical staff from the hospital will undergo a 3-week training on operating the equipment in the United States. The cyber knife has a capacity of treating 10 to 20 patients daily.
The National Parents Association is calling for a clear policy on infrastructure development in schools. Speaking after taking over as the new chairman of the association, Silas Obuhatsa noted parents are paying for development projects in schools, yet there is capitation from the government, and some projects are also undertaken by the National Government Constituencies Development Fund.
The National Parents Association has new leadership taking over from the Nicholas Maiyo-led board, which has been in office for the last 6 years. Led by the chair, Silas Obuhatsa, the association wants the government to protect parents from what they termed as extortion by rogue school heads.
We need to have an office for the parents katika wizara ya elimu. Ndiposa tuwe na mtu special, mtu ambaye ako trained, mtu ambaye anaelewa ni nini ambacho kinahitajika kufanyiwa wazazi katika nchi ya Kenya, katika Ministry of Education. Ndiposa tukiingia pale kama sisi, tujue sisi viongozi wa wazazi tuko na ofisi yetu ambayo tunaweza kuingia ndani na tuanzie pale.
Everybody is crying as a parent, including all parents in Kenya, because extra levies which they are being hacked by maybe the principals and the teachers, they don't understand how are they originated.
Obuhatsa further proposing the establishment of a parents' office at the Ministry of Education.
Kila mwaka unasikia kuna mjengo unaendelea, kuna basi inanunuliwa. Basi sasa kununuliwa miaka 100 na nenda, hiyo project haishi. Sisi kama viongozi wa kisha wazazi tunataka tuingilie katika maswali, tujue ni kwa nini haya mambo ama his projects ambazo they are endless.
At the same time, the National Parents Association says it will present their proposal on the competence-based curriculum to the Presidential Task Force before the end of the month.
We have organized a 3-day national consultative meeting of all parents representatives from across all the 47 counties, which will commence on the 21st to 23rd of October this month, that's 2022. And during that meeting, we shall be scrutinizing the terms of reference or references of the task force and present our proposals.
The new leadership was elected on May 31st, 2022, after the court ordered fresh polls. For Lunchtime News, I'm Zainab Said.
Well, on that note, by Zainab Said, we take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay with us.
Do you have a news story to share with KBC? Get in touch swiftly on email news@kbc.co.ke or call 0723-892-654 or 0734-780-124.
Are you a holder of unclaimed financial assets? Take advantage of the Finance Act 2022 moratorium on penalties and interests. Surrender any unclaimed financial assets in your possession today. Unclaimed Financial Assets Authority. Receive, safeguard, reunite.
The legends and familiar charms will grace KBC once again.
At KBC Channel 1, we put people at the heart of events with our captivating weekly news features. Every day, we are breaking new grounds with informative, entertaining, and inspiring human interest stories. On Mondays, 9 p.m., we have The Cabinets. Tuesday, 9 p.m., we get inside the barracks for military tales. We delve in the world of cinemas and theater each Wednesday night. For the young and industrious, make a date with us every Thursday at 9 p.m. Fridays are dedicated for my culture. On Saturdays, we go back in time for history in perspective. And on Sundays, we get to know the process of how things are done and made. KBC Channel 1 News features a whole lot of wonderful viewing experience.
Thank you for staying with us. Welcome back. You're watching the Lunchtime News. Youths across the globe have been challenged to take up leadership roles in the most basic units of the government structures across the country. Speaking at the United Cities and Local Authorities Caucus in Kisumu, Youth and Gender Director under UCLA, Jacqueline Moustache, said given the population and energy, youths can no longer be ignored. Achola Simon with the details.
As the youth population continues to grow across the region, observers are now calling for the inclusion as a very basic unit of leadership in governments to ensure their voice is heard and their youthful exuberance harnessed into gainful use.
Because if you refer to the statistics, we will have by the year 2050, we will have 50% of our youth. Of the youth of the world who will be from Africa. And this is very significant, and it is indeed very, very important. We cannot even find the appropriate words to put emphasis on the importance of this figure. And I think now is the time for us to start sensitizing the youth that it will be their turn, it will be them.
Speaking during a Youth in Leadership Caucus in Kisumu City, United Cities and Local Authorities Youth and Gender Director Jacqueline Moustache hailed the gains made over the years in creating leadership spaces for the youth, saying there is room for more. The caucus culminated into the formation of a regional youth in leadership network aimed at nurturing young leaders in the region.
Is to create a network for the youth, because we are doing the same in other regions, the west, the north, south, and central, because we want the youth to be part of decision making. We want the youth to be in central and in decentralization in the municipality. This is where decisions are taken, and it is difficult for us to lead successfully if we do not have all the different sectors of the community.
We must lobby to bring in more member organizations of local and regional representations to this great organization. Only then shall we have a formidable voice to champion our agenda, especially at that international stage.
Achola Simon, Lunchtime News, Kisumu County.
Thank you, Achola, for that report. Now, more than 20 cartons of illegal second-generation liquor have been destroyed in Kajiado North Sub-County. Ole Kasase Police Station police officers, acting on a tip-off from members of the public, confiscated the alcohol when it was being supplied to liquor outlets. The manufacturer managed to evade the police dragnet. Kajiado North Deputy County Commissioner Patrick Mwangi observed the sale of illegal liquor in the area has increased lately, hence the need for continuous crackdown and brewers and sellers. Members of the public want security organs to step up the fight against illicit brew in the region.
Tumekamata pombe boxes 82, kila box ikiwa na chupa 20, yote ni mashupa 1640 pombe haramu ambayo ilipatikana watu wakija kuuza hapa mtaani Rongai, na polisi walipopata tip off kutoka kwa wananchi, yule aliyekuwa naye aliweza kuiabandon mahali alikuwa ameshukisha na akakimbia na gari na hakuweza kushikwa. Kama unavyoona behind me, wale zile mashupa vile zinavyofujika, na tuna imani kwamba taarifa zingine zozote zile ambazo zitashipuka tutaweza kukabiliana nazo kwa njia ifaayo.
Askari yetu waliweza kukimbia hapo mara moja, tuweza kunasa hiyo pombe na mwenyewe akatoroka. So tunashukuru wananchi kwa ile habari mlitupasa kwa haraka. Pia tunataka pia tushirikiane pamoja kabisa, kwa sababu hiyo pombe iko na madhara zake. Inaweza kufanya watu wakuwe blind, na hata inaweza fanya vifo za watu ambaye ni kwa youth ambao wanatumia pombe sana, na ndio watu ambao tunategemea maisha yetu ijayo.
Across the borders, the World Health Organization has issued a global alert over 4 cough syrups, warning that they could be linked to the deaths of 66 children in Gambia. WHO added that the syrup has been potentially linked with acute kidney injuries.
Who identified the medicines as promethazine oral solution, Cofexmalin baby cough syrup, Markov baby cough syrup, and Magrip and cold syrup, which are all products manufactured by an Indian company, Maiden Pharmaceuticals, which has failed to provide guarantees about their safety. The 4 products had been identified in the Gambia but could have been distributed through informal markets to other countries or regions. The WHO's intervention came after a medical authority in the Gambia, a popular tourist destination, detected an increase in cases of acute kidney injury among children under the age of 5 in late July. The Gambia's government has since suspended the use of all paracetamol syrups and has urged people to use tablets instead. Elsewhere, Thailand is mourning a horrific gun and knife attack at a childcare center in the northeast that left 37 people, including 23 children, dead. Parents gathered outside the center, weeping and clutching onto their children's toys. A former police officer had stormed into the building on Thursday, killing children as young as 2 years as they slept. Police say the 34-year-old attacker killed himself and his family after a manhunt. The motive for the attack is not yet known, but police say the attacker had been fired from his job in June for drug use. Flags across Thailand are flying at half-mast as the nation grapples with the tragedy. Meanwhile, a series of Russian rocket attacks in the southern Ukrainian city of Zaporizhia has killed at least 7 people. Local officials said that the rocket hit residential buildings before dawn and then again several hours later. Rescue workers are now combing through the shattered remains of an apartment building, with people still reported to be under the rubble. They say the death toll could rise further. Meanwhile, even as Russia's President Vladimir Putin signed his illegal annexation treaties in the Kremlin, Ukrainian forces were advancing inside the areas he had just seized. Hundreds of thousands of men have been fleeing Russia rather than being drafted to fight in the expanding war. For Lunchtime News, I'm Joanne Wangari.
Welcome to Channel 1 Business News. Almost 5 out of 10 Kenyans are facing a serious food shortage, threatening the country's social fabric. The ongoing food crisis is worsening malnutrition in the country, with school-going children the worst hit. The Kenya Christian Professional Forum Chair Charles Kanjama is urging the government to come up with a well-defined relief food program targeting the urban and rural poor.
The Horn of Africa is undergoing the worst drought in 40 years, affecting close to 80 million people and creating a human catastrophe. Kenya is one of the countries hardest hit by the drought, with people in 23 counties facing starvation. The situation has made life unbearable for millions of Kenyans who are struggling to put food on the table.
The new government administration has ushered in a new focus and momentum on several agenda items. The economy is a leading issue shaping the conversation during this period. For Christian professionals, the Constitution of Kenya 2010 remains a single reference point on what should guide laws and policies.
The Kenya Christian Professional Forum Chair Charles Kanjama says the situation is creating a health crisis, with more Kenyans becoming malnourished since they can't afford a healthy diet. Last September, the government declared the ongoing drought as an emergency and called on development partners to help Kenya deal with the situation, but the response has not been encouraging.
In the same line, there are various threats to the right to life in Kenya, including malnutrition and diseases. This sad state of affairs can be attributed to a variety of problems, among them psychological, socio-economical, and cultural crisis.
Kanjama is urging the government to upscale relief efforts in affected communities and remove taxes on basic food commodities to alleviate the suffering of millions of Kenyans. Already, the government has rolled out a major relief program targeting millions of Kenyans through the Office of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua.
Business conditions improved in September as activities resumed following the end of the electioneering period and an improvement in supply chains. The Stanbic Bank Kenya Purchasing Managers Index jumped to 51.7 in September of 2022 from 44.2 in August, signaling a renewed and modest improvement in private sector growth.
Output returned to growth for the first time since February, increasing at a solid pace. At the same time, new orders grew for the first time in 6 months as concerns about post-election disruption faded. Purchasing activity also increased due to improvement in supply chains. Similarly, new business volumes rose in September, thereby ending a 5-month period of decline. The upturn in new orders encouraged businesses to raise their purchasing activity sharply in September, in line with the shortening of input-led times following election delays in the previous month. Expansions were also seen in the agriculture, wholesale and retail services, as declines were registered in the manufacturing and construction sectors. Meanwhile, employment was largely stable amid ongoing concerns about the cost of living crisis. On the price front, input cost inflation accelerated for the first time in 5 months due to higher fuel prices. As a result, output cost inflation accelerated uptick. Despite improving slightly, the outlook for future activity remained subdued in September amid ongoing concerns surrounding the cost of living crisis. Expectations at Kenyan firms for the next 12 months remained one of the worst on record, with just 12% of panelists predicting output to expand. Furthermore, fuel subsidies in September led to a marked increase in purchase costs, while the rate of overall cost of inflation accelerated for the first time in 5 months. This foresaw the rate of selling prices pick up after sliding to a 7-month low. Ndosa Mokami for Lunchtime News.
Now, the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, KCCB, has partnered with Educans Kenya, an international NGO, to develop and enhance skills across 30 technical and vocational training centers in the country. This has been necessitated by the rising levels of unemployment in the country as institutions of higher learning release 200,000 graduates to the job markets every year.
Sights and sounds at Don Bosco Boys Technical Institute during the official launch of Ujuzi na Ajira kwa Vijana. While education plays an important role in the country, the sector continues to face a myriad of challenges that range from lack of teachers, lack of adequate infrastructure, and lack of resources to support practical training. Chief Executive Officer Educans International said that the partnership between the organization and the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops aims to come up with initiatives to improve education and impart skills that promote self-employment and create employment opportunities in both local and global markets. According to World Bank, as of 2021, the unemployment rate in the country stood at 5.7%. This partnership between the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops, Educans International, and more than 30 TVET institutions in the country is seeking to cut down this figure. KCCB has applauded the initiative and lauded the government for supporting TVETs in the country.
Knowledge is nothing, and knowledge is useless if it is not meant to protect and to preserve and to develop the nature that there we live in. And you'll notice that way, therefore, that our knowledge and our education is very integral, touching not only the inner human person, not only the person, but the whole environment in which that person lives.
The aim of this project we are launching today is to improve TVET's graduates' productivity and employability in the Kenyan labor market by 2025. Through this project, we will be reaching 9,000 TVET youth and 600 TVET institution leaders and instructors.
The work is happening at a point where you are helping the youth to receive practical skills that make them interpret the theory and to what the world requires or the market requires.
Algeria's Sonatrach and Spanish Power Group have revised gas prices for 2022 but delayed price talks for next year and beyond amid surging demand and after a diplomatic spat between the countries. Here is a roundup of this and other stories from across the continent.
Algeria's Sonatrach supplies around 5 billion cubic meters of gas a year to Spain through contracts signed more than 2 decades ago and valid until 2030 with periodic price reviews. Naturgy said the companies had established a new price retroactively applicable for volumes supplied to the end of 2022 and had also agreed to continue negotiating prices applicable from next year. Neither Sonatrach nor Naturgy gave any details on the new pricing arrangements, but both referred to market conditions. Global gas prices have risen sharply this year as Russian supplies to Europe fell after its invasion of Ukraine. Meanwhile, the Monetary Policy Committee of the Bank of Ghana has increased the monetary policy rate by 250 basis points from 22% to 24.5%. The committee cited heightened economic and policy uncertainties, inflationary pressures, and weakening of the cedi against the US dollar as among the reasons for the increment. On the fiscal situation, the Bank of Ghana said while expenditures had been broadly on target, revenue performance had been below expectations, complicating fiscal policy implementation. It said financing of the budget so far had predominantly been from the banking sector, with the central bank absorbing a larger share. Finally, workers of South Africa's freight and rail operator Transnet commenced an industrial action on Thursday as a wage dispute between the company and 2 major unions seems set to paralyze services and disrupt exports. 2 worker unions that represent most of Transnet workers turned down a wage rise offer of 3 to 4%, saying it was below the country's annual inflation. South Africa's inflation rate was 7.6% in August. The state-owned Transnet has been operating below capacity due to a shortage of locomotives, poor maintenance, vandalism, and theft of its infrastructure, costing miners billions of rands in potential revenue. Serena Ndekeremo for Lunchtime News.
A U.S. judge has delayed the looming trial surrounding Elon Musk's proposed $44 billion acquisition of Twitter on Thursday, giving the parties until October 28th to close the deal. Kathleen McCormick, head of the Delaware Chancery Court, halted action in the case and said a trial originally set for October 17th will be rescheduled for November if the transaction does not close by October 28th deadline. More details in our international business news.
Musk had asked to halt the upcoming Delaware court trial, where the Tesla billionaire was expected to fare poorly against Twitter's lawsuit to force him to complete his April merger agreement. Musk revived the takeover offer on Monday, but said he needed time to get the financing in order. Twitter had asked McCormick early on Thursday to proceed with the trial, saying the billionaire refuses to accept the contractual obligations of his April agreement to buy the social media company and take it private. Twitter disputed Musk's claim that the San Francisco-based company is refusing to accept his renewed bid. Musk told Twitter earlier this week he's ready to buy the company once again after trying to back out of the deal over the summer, accusing it of refusing to give him information about spam bot accounts on the service. But after the judge's ruling, Twitter reiterated in a statement that it was ready to close the deal on the share price agreed upon in April. We look forward to closing the transaction as at $54.2 by October 28th, referring to the price Musk originally offered for each Twitter share. Elsewhere, European Union leaders have resolved to turn to talks on how to cap gas prices. This is at an attempt to curb a surge in energy prices that threatens to push the 27-nation bloc into recession and disrupt the European Union's single market. 15 European countries want a price cap on gas, but do not agree on the details of how it should be done. Germany, the Netherlands and Denmark opposed price caps, worried such a measure would disrupt the market and make it difficult for them to buy the gas they need to keep their countries running. The unprecedented surge in gas and electricity prices caused by Russia stopping gas deliveries to Europe has boosted inflation to record highs of 10% and prompted steep interest rate rises, triggering a European Union cost of living crisis threatening to kill off businesses and jobs. Finally, Japan's foreign reserves have fallen by a record $54 billion as global market ructions dent the value of foreign bonds and prompted dollar-selling intervention to arrest a steep decline in the yen. The reserves stood at $1.238 trillion, the lowest amount since the end of March 2017, according to Japan's Ministry of Finance. The data on Japan's foreign reserves, the world's second largest in size after China, comes a week after separate Ministry of Finance figures shows Tokyo spent up to a record 2.8 trillion yen intervening in the market last month. Japan's foreign reserves are comprised of cash deposits parked at overseas central banks and Bank for International Settlement, securities including U.S. Treasuries, gold, International Monetary Fund reserve position, and special drawing rights. Yen buying, dollar selling intervention has been rare in Japan, which has long counted on exports of cars and electronics as a key driver of economic growth. The Japanese yen dropped sharply to a 24-year low near 146 yen to the dollar.
And time for Channel 1 Sports News. Arsenal kept their first home clean sheet of the season when they beat Norwegian side Bodo Glimt 3-0 in the UEFA Europa League in Cyprus. Manchester United came from a goal down to narrowly sink Omonia Nicosia.
He's got the latter anyway.
There's a kick out by